morning students. Today we are going to discuss about the graph mining in the 5th unit. So what is meant by a graph mining? So mining the patterns using the graph methodology. So what are the applications related to the graph mining? So we have seen the number of whatever the applications that we find for the data mining, all that comes under the graph mining also. So generally we can take the chemical informatics like the chemical compounds where the structures are being taken for the pharmaceuticals, and bioinformatics, the DNA structures as well as the protein structures are being evaluated in the bioinformatics. And you can take the computer vision, like whenever you use the social network like Facebook or Twitter. So we are going to see the graph that is being there, or the frequent patterns that are being there communicated with the different people. And we can also have the applications like computer vision, video indexing, text retrieval, web analysis, and so on. Then coming to the mining the frequent patterns. So in the graph mining, generally we use the characterization, discrimination, and we can also use classification, clustering to build a particular graph and find out the similarity search between the two graphs, that is graph and the subgraphs. So mining the frequent subgraphs. So whenever you take any graph, the graph consists of set of vertices and edges, and this vertex is having a particular graph as a whenever you take the graph. So suppose if you have this particular graph, in this graph you need to find out what are the subgraphs that are going to be existed. So you can get the graphs like G1, G2 and G3 and so on. So whenever you get those graphs, these graphs should be having the isomorphic to the graph that is there in, that is G2, G dash. So whatever the graphs that are there, they should be containing the isomorphic values. So you can see there is set of values that are containing equal over here. And you can see here. So these can have a similarity like subgraphs. So the frequency value, suppose if I put the threshold value as minimum value as 2. So here we have taken the minimum value as 3. If the subgraphs are more than the value, that is it satisfies the minimum threshold value, since here we are attaining the frequency as 3. Now all these values are satisfying the minimum support, so it is coming to the as a subgraphs to the original graphs. So here they have given support and frequency, the number of graphs, so G1 to Gn, where G is a subgraph and frequent graph is a graph which satisfies the minimum support. So this is a subgraphs, and since it is satisfying the minimum support value, so these graphs becomes the frequent graphs. Then discovery of frequent substructures. So to draw the subgraphs, so generally there are two steps. One is to generate the frequent substructure candidates and check for the frequency for each candidate. So whenever you take any graph, suppose if you have graph in this manner, and you need to find out, or you need to generate the substructure candidates, and we have the subgraph as like this, which is having the similarity to the, if this is the graph G, and this is the graph G dash. Now G dash is having the isomorphic value, that is it is similar to the graph value, and we need to generate the frequent substructure candidates and check the frequency of each candidate. Now this is the first graph. Now you may attain the graph in this manner. Or in this manner. So you need to check that how many frequency of that particular candidate sets are being occurred based on the subgraphs. If the subgraphs are having the minimum threshold value, you can say those particular candidates are having the minimum threshold and they are taken as the frequent graphs. If at all they are not supporting the minimum threshold value, we are not taking this graph is having the frequent patterns. So these are being estimated by using two approaches. One is the a priori based approach, another one is the pattern growth approach. Coming to the first approach, that is a priori based approach, according to the a priori algorithm, we are going to find out the candidate sets first. So the number of candidate sets in the list. Then we are going to use the number of frequent patterns, that is using the minimum threshold value. We are going to put them in the form of a level 1 value. Then we are going to, that is joining the level 1 with level 1. That is here we are going to see the minimum support of the candidates that are satisfying. If that minimum support is being satisfied, then we generate another set called as candidate 2 generation. So in this candidate 2 generation, we are using the combination of the candidates, and again at the level 2 we are going to join the values that are there in the level 2, that is candidates that are being joined. Then again we ask for the minimum support. If it is having the minimum support, then we again generate the candidate 3 sets. So like that, we at the final end we are going to take the pattern which is satisfying all the minimum supports and the number of levels it is being through. So like that the a priori based approach will perform. So in this a priori algorithm, it is a frequent substructure mining. So inputs we are giving as the data as a graph data sets, and we are giving the minimum support threshold values, and output we are taking the frequent substructure set. So what is the method here? We are taking all these single elements and we are calling the a priori to find out the minimum threshold value. And this particular iteration will done, and we are going to merge all the candidates until the last level, and find out at the last level we are going to find out all the pattern that all the candidates that are satisfying the minimum threshold value with a certain pattern. So the a priori graph is a level wise mining method. The size of a new substructure should be increased by 1. So generated by joining two similar but slightly different frequent subgraphs, and frequency is then checked. So first initially we have one node, then after the next level we are joining with some other nodes. Then in the next level we are going to check, and we are going to, like this there should be an increment in the every level. So in that a priori based, you have two types of methods. One is AGM. The first one is AGM, that is a priori based graph mining. In this we are using vertex based candidate generation. So we are taking the increasing of the substructure size by one vertex at each step. So what we are doing? We are increasing the substructure size by one vertex at each step. So we are taking two frequent k-size graphs are joined only if they have same k-1 subgraphs. and size is equal to number of vertices. So we are taking two k-sized graphs joined if only they have same that is k minus 1 subgraphs. So when you take the subgraphs, so these are the subgraphs that are being attained. So since there is k minus 1 subgraphs, that is k minus 1 vertices are present in the subgraph, we can join these two subgraphs and we are attaining a new candidate k minus 1 sized component with an additional two vertices. So whenever you take these two edges, now these two edges are represented in this particular format, in this particular structure. Now this is the common for both the graphs. So we are putting the same over here. But since these two edges can be represented with the additional vertices. And this also can be represented in this format also. So like this we are going to get the substructures by finding out in the AGM methodology. Then coming to the frequent subgraph mining, this is another approach in the a priori method. So it is used based on the edge-based candidate generation. So previous one was using the vertex base. This was based on the edge-based candidate generation. So this is increasing one edge at a time. Now two size k patterns are merged if they have same subgraph having k minus 1 edges. So if it is having k minus 1 edges, then we can say we can merge two graphs. So whenever you take graph 1 and graph 2, so here you have the similar graphs. You can take these as a k minus 1 edges, which is having the same edge values, and since these are having same values, we can merge them. So when you are merging them, we are attaining the subgraphs as either in this format or in this format or in this format. You may also attain like this. Or also in this manner. So a new candidate will have a core as well as two additional edges. So like that we are going to find out the patterns in the a priori based. So the edge disjoint part method, that is classify the graph by the number of disjoint parts they have. The two parts of the edge joint disjoint if they do not share any common edges. So two parts of the disjoint edge, they do not satisfy any common edge, and a substructure pattern of k plus 1 disjoint parts are generated by joining the substructures. So since we have k disjoint parts, we can, whenever you get the k plus 1 disjoint parts for the substructures. So what are the disadvantages for the a priori approach? The first disadvantage is overhead when joining the two structures, and it uses the level-wise candidate generation. So you must always check the k-size subgraphs, and it has to verify always, and it will consume more memory. So these are the overheads or the disadvantages that you can find in the a priori approach. Then coming to the pattern growth approach. So in the pattern growth approach, it is using the breadth first search as well as depth first search. So a graph G can be extended by adding a new edge. The newly formed graph is denoted by G of X of E. So edge of E may or may not introduce a new vertex to G. So E introduces a new vertex and a new graph is denoted. So here in the pattern growth we are going to use taking the new edge. So similar to the previous fashion, we are going to take the edge value and we are going to mine for the every time, and it may give the vertex or it may not give the new vertex. So here you use the two directions. So suppose if you have the tree in this format, so you may start with this value and starting this value, and we can have the value in this manner, or we can have the substructure value in this manner. So every time when you take the values, you are going to remove the values which are in the we are going to extension by the using the forward direction or using the backward direction methodology. So in the pattern growth approach, we are going to discover the graph recursively until all subgraphs are being found out. So it is very simple but inefficient, and it has to discover the duplicate graphs. So multiple times it will discover the duplicate graphs. So to reduce the reduction of multiple times of duplicate graphs, we are going for a method called as G-span. So in the G-span methodology, we are going to find out the so let us see what are the algorithm that is for the pattern growth before going to the G-span methodology. So in the pattern growth, that is, we have taken the data with the graph sets and the minimum threshold value and the output graph as we are going to get, and we are going to call the pattern growth. So every time an edge is joined with the graph, and we are going to find out the minimum support. If it is satisfying the minimum support by the subgraphs, then we are going to take that graph as a pattern. Then again we are joining with certain edge and we are going to find out the minimum support. Then we are going with joining the minimum another edge and we are going to find out the minimum support. Like that we are going to find a graph, and if it is satisfying, then we take it as the values. But this particular graph may contain the multiple times it may attain. So to reduce that multiple times, we go for another method, that is G-span algorithm. So in the G-span algorithm, it reduces the generation of duplicate graphs. It does not extend the duplicate graphs. It uses the depth first order. So the graph have several DFS trees, and visiting the order of the vertices form in linear order. So in the DFS tree, starting with the vertex, that is root, until last vertex, that is rightmost vertex. So what it does is it takes the values and it will take the values of the only rightmost values, and it will remove the values that are there in the leftmost. So here you can see, so whenever you take the values in the V0, V1, V3 will be your values, and in C you can take as V0, V1, V3. Similarly, you can take the values for D. It is V0 to V1, then V2 and V3. So these are the values we are going to take. So whenever you want to add a new edge, So we are going to add the rightmost vertex and other vertex on the rightmost path, that is back extension. And it can introduce a new vertex and connect it to the vertex at the rightmost path, that is forward extension. So either we are going for the forward extension as well as backward extension. So we are only going to give the rightmost vertex. So here is the dark to values which is having only the path. So here we are going to remove this path. So when we are attaching the values, we are going to attach to only to the rightmost path, but not to the left path. So when you have, this is the tree that we have, we can have the graph in this manner. So either we are going to join in this pattern. So whenever you join in the backward direction, this backward direction can join in the several, that is here in the B can be extended. So it can represent in the formation of in this node or to this particular node, or you may extend over here, or you may extend over here, or you may extend over here. Then coming to the C, D, and similarly you can see the right paths are being extended with the forward as well as backward extensions. So in this, the DFS, so we have taken example and we need to write the minimum sequence values from that particular graph. So here we are going to use the edge order as well as the sequence order. So edge order is the mapping of the edges in a subscripted graph into the sequence, and sequence order builds an order among the edge sequences. So here the forward edges are 0, 1, 1, 2 and 1, 3. These are the forward edges, and the complete sequence you can form as 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 0 and 1, 3 are the backward edges that we are going to represent. So these are the complete sequence. Whenever you do the DFS, you are going to do, so always the backward edges are given before than the forward edges. So once you do the any DFS, what we are doing, we are forming the values as 0, then extending to 1, then find out the value for 2. Now this 2 is again giving any value or not, we are going to check. So since it is extending to the value 0, so again 2 to 0, then 0, again 1 to 3. That is what we are going to get. So the G-span algorithm can also, we have taken an example and we can write the subscripted values like this with the edges as well as the values. So for the phi naught, where you take the values 0, 1 and the values is x, a, x, and 1, 2, that is x, a, z, 2, 0, that is z, a, z, b, x, and 1, 3, that is x, b, y. So similarly for the phi 1 you can write in this fashion, for phi 2 you can write this fashion. So we are going to find out, we are going to use the lexical graph where you are going to put them in form of an order wise manner. Then we are going to take the algorithm. So in this algorithm we are finding out all the DFS code, and we are going to take the right extensions with k minus length DFS code to the k length DFS code, and we are going to search for the similarity. Since we are find out for this graph, if you are finding out the rightmost extension, so you can see there is a similarity. but here it is been extended to the left side, so we can prove there are similarity existing. So S dash is pruned and S dash is pruned and S dash is been pruned, and we are going to remove the values and we are going to keep the value which have been having the frequent pattern. So this is the algorithm. So once we are going to scan, we are going to take the data sets and the minimum support. Then we are calling the GSpan. Then we are going to scan all the D data and find out the edges. And we are going to find out the rightmost extended value. And we are going to insert the values into the C and count into the frequency and find out the DFS in the lexicographic order for each graph in C, and we are going to find out the G-span. So like that we are going to form the frequent pattern. So coming to the next one, that is mining closed frequent substructures. So this is overcoming the pattern explosion. So more number of patterns are being taken as an similar to the pattern that are existing for the graph. So the number of patterns are attaining as substructures are being attained for the structure. So that is overcome by using the mining the closed frequent substructures. So the closed frequent substructure is the if it is does not having the proper supergraph, then we can say it is a closed substructure graph which is having the same support value as G. So here we are going to find out the maximal path if and only if there is no frequent super pattern in G. So maximal pattern set in subset is closed set. So you can reconstruct the entire set using the frequent pattern. So here is so here we cannot reconstruct the entire set of the frequent patterns. So whenever you take the pattern, so we can find out the maximum paths, so which does not have again the superset for that value. So then we can say as a further subset values, then we can say this pattern as a closed pattern set. So this allows the not reconstructing the entire set of frequent patterns. So every time when you are finding we are getting more number of frequent patterns, so we need to build in such a fashion that we are going to have the graph which is furtherly cannot be divided. That is said to be the maximal pattern set. Like that we are going to find out the closed frequent pattern. Closed frequent pattern. Then coming to the mining alternative substructure patterns. So in this you have unlabeled and the partial labeled graph. So in this method it can be extended for mining unlabeled graphs for which none of the vertices and the edges of the graphs are being labeled. So GSpan can be directly mined the unlabeled graphs. Then coming to the mining the non-simpler graphs. So in this non-simpler graph we have the self loops and the multiple edges. So GSpan what it will do is it will first grow the backward edges, then it will grow the forward edges. So in order to accommodate the self loops, the growing order should be changed. So backward edges and the self loops and then forward edges. So it will allow the sharing of vertices with the two neighboring edges in a DFS code. So it will follow a lexicographical order. and it will handle multiple edges. Coming to the mining the directed graphs. So in this, each edge of the graph has a defined direction and GSpan can be extended to handle the directed graphs. So here it is given as the ij values and the dataset values I, then I comma j, then like this. So we can put them in a form of a directed graph. Then coming to the disconnected graphs. So in this disconnected graph we have two cases. One, the graph datasets must be disconnected, and the other one is graph patterns may be disconnected. So in the first case, we can transfer the original dataset by adding the virtual vertex. So once you are going to get the original data, you are going to add the virtual vertex to the disconnected graph in the each graph. The second one is the disconnected graph pattern can be viewed as a connected graph. Coming to the constraint based mining of substructure patterns. So here we have the constraints pushing the technique. So we are going to integrate the using the pattern growth mining. So here we have the constraints like the sucking constraints. If at all the user requires that the patterns contain a particular set of subgraphs, if that constraint is set to be a particular set of subgraphs has to be there, and those are being satisfied, then we can say that value as a second constraints and can be pushed into the deep into the beginning of mining process. And coming to the geometric constraint, in geometric constraint, a constraint of angle between the each pair connected edges with a range, and these are called as geometric constraint. For example, if we have the constraint like, suppose if we have the G as a graph and we have the constraint like minimum angle should be less than the angle between the edges like E1, E2, E3, E4 and so on, and it should be less than between the maximum angle. Now this is the constraint that is being put, and if at all it satisfies this constraint, we can say this as an anti-monodic constraint. And if the constraints are this fashion, sum is greater than low or sum is less than the high values, then we can say those edges, the weights on the edges, that is whatever the values that are there, if those constraints are being satisfied, then we can say those as monodic constraints. So we are going to form the substructure using the constraint wise. So it should either follow the sucking constraints, that is it follows a particular constraints that is user defined, or it should follow the anti-monodic constraints like this or monodic constraints. Then mining approximate frequent substructures. So in the approximate frequent structures, there are slightly different frequent substructures that can represent. So we use the method called as subdue. So in the subdue, it mines the frequent substructures. So what it does is, it grows a single vertex incrementally by based on the principle minimum description length principle, And what it does is it uses the constraint beam search. So it grows the single vertex incrementally, expanding the node in it. And at each expansion, it searches the best description length of pattern of a graph set and condense into the single nodes. So subdue approximate matching, that is slightly variation to the original graph. So if you have the graph, then every time the G dash, what it does is, so if the graph is similar to like this, every time it will extend to the particular node in it. At each extension, it searches for the best description pattern. So if the pattern is there, then it will check for the best extension pattern of the subgraph, and it will give the approximate matching subgraph using the subdue method. Then coming to the how to find out the dense substructures. So mining the dense substructures, so we are going to use the frequent substructure in the coherent subgraph in a mutual information. So between G, and each of its own subgraph is above some threshold value. It reduces number of patterns mined. So what are the application? The coherent substructure mining selects small set of features that have high distinction power between the protein classes. So always at the each label, it is connected with either with an edge, and it will follow the strong association and set of gene with the same functional module. So graph is mostly used for modeling and analyzing the massive networks. So this pattern is high for the dense subgraph for the large relational graphs, and it will identify the group where the people are strongly associated. So we draw an edge, then we are going to find out the minimal average degree and the minimum degree as well as average degree for the graphs, and we are see how much they are connected. If we remove this particular edge, it will again split into two graphs. So this connectivity is highly used. So in this we have three methods. One is the edge cut method. So in the edge cut, if you disconnect this particular graph, then it becomes 2. And we are going to see how many is the minimum connectivity. So the minimum connectivity, to find out the minimum connectivity, is only 1 over here. So like this we are going to use the dense model using the close cut as well as flat methodology. So in the close cut, it will start with the smaller frequent subgraphs, so frequent candidate graph, and extend until the larger supergraph with the same support. Then in the splat, it directly intersects the relational graphs to obtain high connected graph. The pattern G discovered in a set of progressively intersected with the subsequent components to give G dash. So here we are taking the connectivity with the small frequent graphs to large one, and in the splat what we are doing is we are directly intersecting the relational graph with the high connected graph, and some edges are removed, and we are finding out what is the minimum degree that is there or minimum average degree that is there. So if the connectivity is removed and it is decomposed, then we are going to say it is having the high performance. This connectivity is more important. Next, coming to the applications. In the applications, we have graph indexing. So, indexing is essential for the efficient search and the query processing. So, here we are using the path-based indexing approach and the G-indexing. So, path-based indexing to find out the paths up to maximum length and index them. So, identify all the graphs in the path in the query. And G-index to consider the frequent and discriminate substructures as an index features. So here when you take an example, so the exact matching of this particular graph is here. But since this particular graph is also having substructures, so even these are being considered. Since it is supporting minimum threshold, so these are being considered. Then coming to the another application, that is substructure mining search. So it is mostly used in the chemical informatics and bioinformatics, and these are checked using the query based search. So for this we have the complex structures. So these are being searched by using the H deletion, and they are going to find out the exact substructure search. So we can also have the GraphFill, that is graph similarity filtering. So we are going to filter we are using the similarity between the two graphs. So we are going to remove the edge deletion, then the feature misses. Then if you reduce, there are too many features are there or too many similarities are there, then we are going to reduce the performance by filtering the similarities, and then we are going to take those particular graphs. Then we are going in the other approaches, we have the classification and clustering analysis for finding out the graph patterns. So in the classification we use the methods like SVM and Navier Bayesian method. So what we are going to do, we are going to feature the frequent graphs and put them into a class by using the discriminative feature, and we are going to adjust the frequency and the connectivity thresholds. So using certain threshold, we are going to put them into a class values. If that particular rules are satisfied, then we are going to put the features into the same class. So using the support vector machines and Navier Bayesian, we can use the classification. And for cluster analysis, we are going to take the similar graph based on graph connectivity, and using the hierarchical clustering, by using the minimum threshold values, we are going to cluster them. So by using cluster analysis, the outliers can also be detected. Thank you.